Hey, good morning, everybody. We can get started. Thanks for coming by. It's good to see old friends and folks around here. Hey, John. I don't know. This always seems to be like the kickoff of the year for me with HAI Heli-Expo. We're going to watch a short video and then talk about accomplishments and what we have in plan for 2024.
You don't fly this helicopter, you wear it.
A common question that we get is, what's different now? And it's the people that we have in place.
With solid leadership, combine that with a team that perseveres, that's a bright future.
Thanks. Yeah, 2023 was a pretty busy but successful year. It was our first full year out of bankruptcy. Like I said, last year, first thing we wanted to do was repair the aftermarket. It had been ignored for a long, long time. We did that by, first step was bringing in Ryan Weeks, an experienced aftermarket executive. Ryan's put a strong team together. He's going to talk about the accomplishments we've made in the aftermarket segment in a few minutes. And then we brought in Harvey Ticlo as our Chief Operating Officer to focus on supply chain, engineering, and with getting production efficiency into our production line. Last year, like I said, we talked about the aftermarket needed immediate attention. We're not there yet. We've laid out 700 and some parts that we had to get immediately. I think we've done a fairly good job with that. Ryan will talk about our growth in the aftermarket, but it's going to be another 6 to 12 months before I think we get our whole supply chain healthy with getting the parts in the queue. The overhaul and repairs as well. We've talked about we need a rotable pool. That's really going to help the customers out. That with some of our suppliers and the supply chain there has slowed that down, but that is our goal for next year, is to get, or for 2024, to get that up and running. We've stabilized our production line. We had a lot of orders last year, probably one of the best years in I don't know how many years, but a lot of orders last year. That caused some problems with the supply chain. It caused some problems with hiring. You probably all know that hiring skilled aerospace workers has been difficult, but we've hired 100. Our staffing grew by 100 people last year, and so far we're keeping up. We're able to keep up with the new orders. We delivered 10 aircraft last year, 5 to law enforcement, 1 to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and 4 to private individuals. That's the most we've done since 2017, and that's when we were delivering aircraft to Afghanistan. We secured orders for 25 military and 5 commercial aircraft. We have a firm backlog into 2025, which is really. Jason Lindauer and his team have done a great job of building a backlog. We can work with our suppliers, get long-term agreements in place, and stabilize our production. Ryan's going to talk about how we've done with how we've grown in our spare part sales, repair and overhaul, and then the fulfillment of AOG orders. Harvey talk a bit about the several long-term agreements we've supplied, and we've also developed plans to upgrade our current products. You'll see 3 of those down in the on the show floor. We're calling the Super D, Super E, and then the 530N, the NOTAR with the C30 engine. Ryan, I think, will speak a little bit about that as well. So what's going on in 2024? 2024 is, we're out of this transition year, and now it's time that we meet our commitments, that we keep the customers' helicopters flying, we deliver our helicopters on time, stock more spare parts, decrease our repair and overhaul backlog. It's significant, and we need to decrease that. And then work with our suppliers, that some of them are struggling to keep up with our increased demands, both production and aftermarket. And then certify the Super D, Super E, and 530N. It's our plan with those to sell kits to our service centers where they can upgrade Ds and E models and 520Ns with kits that increase their useful load, productivity, and can reduce their operating costs. So with that, I'd like to just pass it over to Harvey Ticlo, our Chief Operating Officer, to talk about things he's working on.
Thank you, Brad. Good morning. Again, my name is Harvey Ticlo. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of MD. I'm responsible for programs, engineering, supply chain, and operations. Since joining MD in June of 2023, I've been focused on streamlining operations, strengthening the supply chain, and executing on a timely release of product improvements and upgrades. Supply chain remains my top priority and focus as it affects both production and the aftermarket spares. We're experiencing significant increases in lead times and material shortages across many parts. That include even bearings, castings, extrusions. Many of you have heard that from similar OEMs. To overcome these challenges, we are working very close with our suppliers. We're providing them with long-term forecasts, and we've signed up several LTAs, long-term agreements, to help them better plan their production and help us meet the demands of our critical parts. We're continuing to expand this effort across multiple suppliers, and we're also adding additional capacity by signing on additional suppliers as needed. In production, our team is working on standardizing our build configurations. We're not building custom aircrafts down the production line, so that helps the process. We're exploring advanced manufacturing processes, and what's most important is accelerating the parts flow to the production line to keep the production going. My goal is to continue to drive efficiency, reduce cycle time, and increase our capacity in order to support the growth in 2024 and beyond. We have delivered 10 aircraft, as Brad mentioned. We had done 6 the prior year, and we've got 16 deliveries scheduled for 2024. As we ramp production up and add new program upgrades, it becomes important for us to look at our talent base. We're looking to hire close to 47 additional resources across multiple disciplines. But what's even more important for me is to make sure that we sustain our retention rate, which as of January was up 97%. Finally, from a product innovation and development standpoint, our engineers are working diligently to get the new programs and product upgrades released, and Ryan will be speaking to that in a few moments. In closing, I would say that we have a ton of work to do. We're making good progress on many fronts, and we look to continue the positive momentum in 2024 and beyond. Thank you.
Thanks, Harvey. Pat, turn it over to Ryan to talk about the aftermarket, what he's been doing and working on.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Weeks. I joined MD in August of 2022, and I lead the team that's responsible for what we call aftermarket, which is spare parts, repair and overhaul, customer support, tech support, warranty policy and administration, and our global network of authorized service centers and parts retailers. The difference there being if you're an authorized service center, you wrench on aircraft. If you're a parts retailer, you merely sell parts and spares and everything else. So a handful of things here. Spares availability, parts. We say it all the time. That's really our biggest improvement or opportunity for improvement. Brad mentioned a few minutes ago that there are roughly 700 unique part numbers that make up about 80% of our total volume per year. And our goal was to get as healthy on those as quickly as possible so that they're always in stock and we're always able to deliver those the same day when an order comes in. Go back about a year ago, and we were in an inventory situation in which we were only able to satisfy demand on those parts in a given month for about 50% of the parts. Over the past year, that's now up to about 80%. So of those 700 part numbers, for about 80% of them, we have enough in stock to take care of the monthly demand. Our goal is to get to 95% by the end of the year. We would like for it to happen faster, but in this industry and others, some things literally have 18-month, 24-month lead times. So it's going to take a little while to get there, but things are getting better. And, you know, one measure of that is just from an aftermarket standpoint, we literally grew aftermarket by 62% in volume in 1 year. So while that's one measure of it, what that means is parts are flowing out the door way more than they were in the past, but still room for improvement. Repair and overhaul, we had our best year in forever, documented history in a long time, but we only realized about 72% of where we wanted to be if we count all the number of gearboxes and hubs that we aspire to overhaul. So we're fully staffed. We're still struggling with some component level part challenges. That's the only thing slowing us down. And our goal this year is to surpass last year by about 20%. And we will then be about at the point that we need to be to quickly turn all of the assets that our fleet needs on an annual basis. Strengthen the network. Did a lot of work here. We went and visited almost all of our network members in the course of a year, so we racked up a lot of frequent flyer miles. We established a network council like a lot of the other OEMs have, so that on a quarterly basis we can meet with them and bounce ideas off of them. We changed the discount structure across the entire network so that we kind of leveled the playing field. We had a discount structure so that some people were getting a massive discount and other members were getting such a small discount they couldn't even compete with non-MD service centers across the street. So we kind of got everybody on the same leveled the playing field, got everybody working together. We've changed some policies, such as our exchange program policy, to help ensure that we have assets that are readily available when aircraft need them. Over the course of the past year, we've also changed the composition of the network a bit. 6 members have exited. We have 11 new members, and it's all in an effort, to talk in a team analogy. We're working on improving the talent and skill level across the network, and that goes all the way down to our network members too. Improve customer service, arguably one of our biggest challenges. When I joined the team, there were 18 people on the team, including myself, with 4 openings. We're now at 27 strong, and in the customer service group alone, we went from 4 people to 11 people. So a big difference, relatively speaking, in terms of the number of people that are there to field the phone calls from our network members who are calling about parts. Still work to do there. We are making some changes to our customer portal this year, which are about to go into a beta test phase. And the concept there is we want to make it much easier for people to use it. We want to make it more Amazon-like, if you will, add more automation so they can more easily place orders, monitor the status of their orders. We can more effectively measure performance on each of those orders so we understand exactly how well or how poorly we're taking care of them. MD flight and maintenance training. We trained 106 technicians last year and 118 pilots. Down a little bit from the year before because we did a bunch of military training the year before, but those numbers are expected to be up above 2023 numbers in 2024, and we have some plans in the works to modernize our training facilities. And lastly, and maybe the most exciting piece, when we look at our fleet, we have MD has roughly 1,700 aircraft out there in the field. And most of those were made, if you look back at all the statistics, most of them, like other OEMs, especially Bell, maybe not so much Airbus, they were made back in the 70s and 80s. So that fleet is getting older and older. Average age is roughly 36 years old, not much different for Bell. What does that mean? Well, it means that once a fleet gets that old, you start to see about 1 to 2% attrition a year. So on a 1,700 aircraft fleet, you might be losing anywhere between 15 and 30 aircraft a year. Well, until we, on the new aircraft side, are pumping 30 new aircraft a year into the field, technically our fleet's in decline. So what are we going to do about that? We need to keep those aircraft flying. We want to keep them modern. So we're releasing, in the process of releasing 7 fielded fleet upgrades for those legacy aircraft for the purpose of improving their performance, adding technology, making them more relevant, more useful, keeping them flying, and stabilize the fleet as we start to pump more new aircraft in the field and grow the fleet and send it in the other direction. So at the highest level, those are kind of 6 big things that we've really focused on over the past year, and we'll be focusing on those going forward. I want to flip to the next slide. So a little more detail about these. And when you see our booth this year, you will see a Super D, a Super E. These are, I'll call them the temporary names. Maybe they end up being something different. But Super D means, in car terms, a souped-up D model. A Super E is the same. We already have the E to F conversion that some of you may be familiar with, and we also have, Brad called it the 530N earlier, also called the Super N. And I'll explain each of these in just a minute. And I'll start with that one. That's the 520N, the NOTAR product based on the 500 model family. It's a little underpowered engine-wise. Never did so well in hot, high conditions. So this particular modification will replace the C20 engine, the Rolls-Royce C20 engine, with the C30 engine, which will give it drastically better hot, high performance. This is an aircraft that in the middle of the summer in Phoenix, you couldn't really get off the ground with a full bag of gas and 2 pilots. With the C30 engine, you'll be good to go up to 6,500 feet on an ISA plus 20 degrees C day. So it drastically improved performance on the hover performance. When we talk about the Super Ds, you can get it in a few flavors. Most of the D models have a Rolls-Royce C20B engine in them. A small percentage, maybe 10% or less, have a C20R. This particular upgrade effectively gives it the F model, I'll call it drivetrain less the engine. So you get the longer F model blades, you get a longer tail boom, a tail boom extension, a new vertical, a new horizontal, longer tail rotor blades, gives you more tail rotor authority. And those modifications, even while keeping the C20 engines, those aircraft will get an additional 350 pounds or 12% increase in max gross weight. They will get an extra 291 pounds or an 18% increase in useful load. And then on the Super D30, which means you also upgrade the engine, hover performance goes from in the range of 6,000 to 8,000 up to 11,000 to 14,000 at different conditions. So you're talking on average an 85% increase in hover performance on that model too. So pretty drastic increases, and we're hopeful that there will be a large number of the fleet that's interested in these upgrades. Just for reference purposes, there are roughly 600 D models out there and roughly 400 E models. So there's an opportunity, and there are roughly 85 of the 520Ns. So we have an opportunity for 1,100 aircraft to get a very nice upgrade. The Super E, very similar to the Super D. If you don't switch the engine out, you get all the same all the same changes are made: the blades, the boom, the horizontal, the vertical. It will also see a 350-pound increase in max gross weight and a 291-pound increase in useful load. And if you're not familiar with the E to F upgrade, the E to F upgrade is one in which you bring in your E model, and we basically turned it into a full-blown F model with the C30 engine. And that one gets all the performance of the F model. Numbers-wise, well, let me take a step back. Over the past 15 years, that one's been available for a long time. It was always done at MD. Well, the big change on that one is we are now unleashing that one to the network. So effective immediately, and it's already underway, we have 4 service centers, including Thoroughbred, Axiom, EM Heli, and Clemens Aviation, and they are now authorized to do E to F conversions. And the price tag for that conversion, depending on whether you bring your own reconditioned engine or you go with a brand new engine, you're talking for somewhere out the door between $1 million and $1.5 million to turn your E into an F. And that's a very good value compared to the price of going with a brand new F model if that's the path you want to and need to go. When we talk about the Super D upgrades, the Super E upgrade, a less intensive upgrade, and without the engine, the numbers that we're looking at there is probably an out-the-door price of somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000. So all that performance that I mentioned earlier, you'll be able to get those improvements for a relatively affordable price. So those, the Super D and the Super E conversions, those will be available at all of our service centers around the globe. So again, in the past, we always tried to bring all that back into MD, in part because it was a change that affected the type certificate, and we felt from a quality standpoint it was important that we oversee all that. Well, we're working very closely with our service centers, who are a very capable network of service centers, and we're going to allow them to start doing those upgrades. So now you don't have to put your helicopter on a plane or on a boat and send it away for a year to MD to get it done. You can take it to your service center in New Zealand or in Europe or wherever to have that work done. So that's a few slides of a lot of stuff, but that's basically what we have going on in the aftermarket. Brad?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So I said this before, I think some of you know, I started with the company in 1983 when it was Hughes Helicopters, and we just finished the E and the F model certification, and we would sit around, you know, after a flight or sit around talking and say, you know, why don't we put the F blades on the E model? That would seem to make sense. And when back then, it was like 1 or 2 flights. We had to make 1 or 2 flights. We could submit it all to the FAA, and for whatever reason, the marketing people didn't want to do that, so we didn't do it. Same with the 520N. We actually did most of the flight testing and certification of it with a C30 engine in it, but we never certified it with a C30 engine. All the data is there. I have one of our test pilots, Greg Ash, who started with Hughes back in the late 70s, I believe. He's going to be at our booth the whole week. Greg did all the E and the F certification flying and did a lot of the NOTAR flying, the 520N, 600N, and the 902. Lots of great stories. Stop by and say hi to Greg. But Greg, when I told Greg about doing the Super E and Super D, and he goes, I've been trying to do that for 40 years. So I can't claim these are any new ideas or anything significant from an engineering side of things. It's just something that should have been done for a long time. And again, like Ryan said, I think it's going to add a lot of utility to the customers. It's for a small investment. You get with the Super E or the Super D, you get the fuel flow of the C20B, but you get the max gross weight of the F model. Just a couple of other things. We were having there's a press conference at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to present Embry-Riddle and Whirly Girls scholarships that we give. And then from 2 to 4, we'll have a happy hour at our booth, so hope to see you all there. And then we'd also like potential customers to take a survey at our booth. We want the feedback. We want the good, the bad, the ugly. Take the survey. We're giving a gift card. What are they, $1,000 gift cards or something? No, they're not. Just not that one. There's like $75 gift card, I think, if you do the survey. And we want to talk to you. We want to hear, like I said, what are we doing well, what are we doing poorly, and what are we not doing at all. So, thank you very much. I guess we can open it up for questions. Who's going to ask me about the 902? There you go. Oh yeah. The question was. What are we doing with the 902? Is there anything down the road? Are we doing anything for the 600 to upgrade the 600? So I'll take the 902 question. We've been looking for a potential buyer that could bring that back into production, could get it back on its feet. I think we talked about a year ago. We're out of bankruptcy, and we don't have the time or the capital to do that. So a great airplane. I love flying in the airplane. We're struggling with even things like with the 520N with tail booms and fan blades and TT straps and all of those things. We will support the 600 the best we can. That's all. Again, the supply chain. We've been trying to get tail booms for over 2 years from suppliers. It's hard. It's hard when we say there's 85 aircraft out there and they've got 11,000 hours. What's the life on a tail boom? 11,000 hours, and so that's going to be one a year for the next, 10, 11 years. It's just hard to find people that are willing to invest to do that. I mean, it's too bad. They're all really great products, and it's just too bad that, again, if I had, we all have more ideas than we have money, and if we had the capital and the investment to do it, we'd go a different path. But we have to live within our means, and this the Super D, Super E were something that we could give some immediate benefits to customers for a small amount of investment on our part.
Yeah. We could take the 6-bladed main rotor hub off of the 600 and throw a C30 or C47 into the 500 model and literally have just a world-class sports car, but how many people are really going to buy that as neat as it is? So a lot of ideas.
Yes. There were, so the question was, we heard there's, what are on the military aircraft? There were some from Afghanistan that were left over. I'm close, plus or minus. There were 13 or 14 Afghanistan aircraft that came back here. 6 went to a foreign customer. 6 went to,
USDA.
well, no, 6 went overseas. The USDA took some, and then the U.S. Army in Huntsville took 1 or 2 of them down there, and we're rebuilding one for the USDA now that had battle damage. But all those were they were not controlled by us. They were all controlled by the U.S.
And the military market.
So the military market we found is pretty strong. You know, these things kind of go in peaks and valleys. Last year, 2023, we did not deliver any military aircraft. This year, it's our plan to deliver 13 military aircraft. 12 are for international customers. 1 is for the U.S. government. So, and we've booked about, you know, I said 25 aircraft for the military market. So that's been really strong. And I always get the question, so I'll answer the question before anyone asks, you know, is there a preference on the mix? What do I rather have? You know, I think in theory, I'd love to have like a 75-25 military to commercial mix, but those damn customers keep getting in the way and making their own decisions. So last year was all commercial, other than USDA, and then this year it's mostly military. But we are going to try and keep a couple slots with green tails down the production line. So if a customer needs one, wants one, that we'll have that opportunity. They're close. The aircraft in structurally are close, but there's a certain point early on in the production line where they veer out. One has the structural enhancements for the weapons, and the other one doesn't. Oh.
You talked about the upgrades you're bringing to the in-service fleet. What sort of innovations or upgrades are you contemplating for new build helicopters going forward?
So there's there's several things that I think the aircraft needs. There's some things that we would like to do just to improve the efficiency, improve the build. This aircraft was designed in the 60s by Howard Hughes' engineers and built by hand, and still is. So there's some things that we would like to do that you may not be able to see from the outside, but investing to like what Harvey was saying, improve our efficiency, improve our throughput. And so there's some of those. There are some other things that we'd like to do that, kind of hinted at last year. We've slid those out for a while. I mean, the airplane is, the drivetrain I think is great. The fuselage is too small. I like someday to do something with a larger fuselage if that's possible, and open us up to some more markets. But that right now we don't have any plans for that. There's we don't have a luggage compartment. We need a luggage compartment. There's just a lot of little things that we need to do to get us competitive with with the other manufacturers.
Blades.
Yeah, blades. We've had there are a couple of blade main rotor blade programs going on. One with Van Horn Aviation, the other with HTC. So those we'll support either one of those companies with their work, but it'd be nice to have some more efficient main rotor blades, both from a noise standpoint as well as a lift and a fuel burn. So those are things that we're working with the other guys per se to help that go forward. The relationship was good with Boeing. We talked to those guys several times a week.
Yep.
They're a good customer of ours, and but the relationship was good with those guys. They have an aircraft that is, like Ryan said, 6 blades, bigger motor. That we're not going to compete in that market against those guys, but I think there's no shortage of bad people in the world, and there's always going to be a need for there's always going to be a need for aircraft like us, you know, that's something that you can get into an aircraft, you know, transport it quickly, put it together quickly, very lethal, very effective. So I think that I believe that the 160th is going to have these aircraft for a long, long time, and we support them. Now, talking with the 160th, they do have some plans, I think, to retire this, and they're looking at other options like hybrid and some other options as well. But you know, for the time being, I think that the cancellation of FARA does not hurt us. I'll put it that way. Yeah, sure. So we invested a year ago in a 3D printer to bring some of the stuff to do that a little bit differently. I think right now, a lot of the things we need to do is consolidate some of our suppliers. One of the big issues we've had is with gearboxes, because the previous folks that did the castings decided they weren't going to do that anymore. And so a lot of this right now is just some of that we got a hangover from the bankruptcy from the old co that we have to work our way through and get the new suppliers that didn't want to make the transition, get those guys on their feet. I would love to be a little bit more vertically integrated with some things, but you know, I'm jealous of folks like Robinson. They make their own blades. I'd love to make my own blades, but HTC makes a great blade. They've been doing it for a long, long time. I'm not sure I could, you know, put a team together to do anything better than what HTC does. So we're not going to do that. Structurally, we're always looking for options from structure standpoint, but to maybe my non-answer, nothing right now from a vertical integration, but it's on our minds. Yeah, so the ones we signed were Middle East and Africa. We do have a lot of interest and discussions in Asia. Asia is a very, very large market as well. And then in Europe, in Eastern Europe, we offer again, I think our you know, if you looked at a lethality divided by cost, that kind of ratio, I think we do very, very well with that. You know, a country that can't afford not Apaches, not just buying the aircraft, but all the infrastructure that goes along with it. You know, the U.S. Army's been flying these since the 1970s, so it still serves its function and purpose really well. So. You only get one question, sorry. All right. Yeah, I'm not, you know, I don't know what, you know, how much investment really, and I'm not going to speculate on that one. We have 6 fuselages that are ready to go. We have 2 completed aircraft that have certificates of airworthiness on them. So we have a lot of parts. We've got a lot of inventory. So, you know, the MD-902 Lego kit is there to start putting these together. The hard part is some of these suppliers that do tail booms, pitch case blades, getting those folks up to speed and qualified. You know, I think it's realistic. I've had conversations with probably 6 different folks, 6 different groups that are interested in doing it. You know, so some have you know, their eyes are bigger than their stomachs, but I think there's some people that really want to make a go at it. India, we haven't really, I don't want to leave it to Jason, we haven't really explored India that much. I've done business with them, with India in the past, and it's, you know, they have HAI over there and HI, Hindustan Aeronautics, yeah. So I don't know, Jason, you want to make a comment about India?
Yeah, right.
And in terms of co-production, if you're not aware, MD many years ago had co-production deals in Italy, Korea, and Japan. But typically, in my experience, unless you're talking volumes of about 100 aircraft or more, you usually don't see co-production deals. So until volumes for us rise a whole lot, and we don't currently have any plans to do co-production anywhere else right now.
Well, Gianfranco Betti from WAP International Magazine from Brazil. What would be the current production
Yeah, this year, so like Harvey said, last year, we built 9 aircraft, delivered 10. This year, we're going to build and deliver 16. We do have some capacity to increase that potentially. I think from a tooling standpoint, we have the capacity to build probably 50 aircraft a year if we have the supply base and the people. But, above that, we would need a second set of tooling.
In 1968, we made 800 in 1 year. So we have that going for
Yeah.
us.
And they were $60,000 a piece or so?
Probably, yeah.
No, the first ones were like 25,000. I think the first ones were $25,000 a piece. So sign me up for 2 or 3. That's, I get asked that question a lot, and this is the 4th, I believe, kind of private ownership company that I've been involved with, and their motivation is fairly simple. It's we're majority owned by an insurance company, MBIA Insurance, and I don't know if that's really they really want to own a helicopter company, but so they all have some sort of exit strategy, and they'll say to me, Brad, we have a strategy. We'll know it when we see it. But it's all about growth, and it's all about earnings. And if we're making if the EBITDA is strong, then they like to keep it if it's growing. But there is some finite life, I believe, with the ownership that we have right now. I keep telling everybody, our job is to, this company, I said this last year, this company's bigger than all of us. Howard Hughes was here. She who will not be named was here. There were a lot of people. There were a lot of people involved. There are a lot of people involved in this, and the helicopter is still here. The helicopter is still flying and supporting the customers. And if there's a new owner, I think it's going to be, it'll be somewhat transparent to all of us in Mesa, Arizona. So, company's not for sale. We're trying to grow the helicopter. We're trying to grow our market share. And I just look at it. It's got my head down and locked. And until the next Howard Hughes comes along to buy and take it over, we're here. We're secure. We're moving forward.
Is your EBITDA strong?
Well, we generally don't announce our EBITDA but look, we've got a growth path. We got a growth path. We're not insolvent. We're paying our own bills. We're paying all of our suppliers. We're paying our people. We're growing the business. So it's never strong enough. A lot of the investors look at the EBITDA from TransDigm, for instance, right? And Brad, why can't you be more like those guys? And it's just stuff takes time. You got to grow the business. You've got to get we've got to get the costs out of the helicopter. We have to support the customers more. The more I hate seeing any backlog in our repair and overhaul, because that says to me that there's some aircraft that's sitting in a hangar someplace not flying, and we could be making money off that transmission, rotor hub, or whatever the case might be. So. Again, another non-answer. I'll say this: I think our EBITDA is strong, and I think I don't think our owners are looking to sell this, anytime soon.
We don't want to grow it the wrong way. We don't want to just double or triple prices for a short-term gain, because that affects direct operating and direct maintenance costs, and that's always at the forefront of our mind when we think about what kind of price increases are we looking at this year, despite the kind of cost increases that we've seen. So we're trying to do it the right way.
And Ryan mentioned going up to how many people now?
27.
27. So he's added half a dozen or more people. Jason's gone from 3 BD people to 11, and all of that gets paid for by every customer who buys a pitch link or a helicopter. And so we're making this investment in the infrastructure and the support to the customer. Our EBITDA would be much stronger if I told Jason, you got one salesperson. If I told Ryan, you've got one person in your aftermarket. But that's not what we're focused focusing on. We're focusing on the customer. We're focusing on growing the business and fixing the company, doing the things that need to be done. And my feeling is, you treat your customers well, you treat your suppliers well, you treat your employees well, and our ownership's going to make all the money that they need and they deserve. Sure. If you guys heard back there, one of the top markets with the 500. So law enforcement, we're still really strong with law enforcement. The Houston PD said they have a 125, and they said we like the 500 because we can land the 500 in an intersection. The 125, we've got to go look for a parking lot someplace. So law enforcement is strong. Utility operators, it's flying close to the power lines and with a good old-fashioned analog cockpit and somebody hanging off the skid. It's the maneuverability, the agility of the helicopter is great for the power line operators. We've had 3 or 4 aircraft sold last year to high wealth individuals. They just like to fly. The people that like to fly their own helicopter, we are still strong with that. Military, obviously the military. And did I miss anything?
So 95% of our usage is covered by 14 missions. Utility, civil multi-role is the biggest, 27%. Light arm attack, 21%. Private or business use, 12%. Law enforcement, 8%, and then it trickles down from there. Where we're not strong, of course, is in HEMS, air ambulance, just because of the size of our cabin. But those are the biggies for us.
Yeah. So the question is, have we rebranded the military products? We did more than that. We partnered with Moog or Moog, US, and Dylan as well, and we have I'll just say four different product lines. We have we call it the TH-530, which is just a trainer, an unarmed trainer, but it has all the structural mods that it needs to up-arm it at some point in time. We have the AH-530 that just fires the unguided rockets, as well as guns. We'll have the AH-530 Block 1, which will have a laser designator on the nose for guided rockets, and then we're integrating the Hellfire system in as well. But the thing is, it's a single integrated weapon system, so it's very, very modular that you can grow. It uses essentially the panel of the commercial aircraft with displays on either side and gun sights, so you can upgrade from the outside. You'll never know which one it is. Internally with the different LRUs and the wire harnesses for Hellfire or guided rockets or unguided rockets. So it's more than just branding. It's actual the bones, everything, the electronics, everything is the same. It's just the kind of the upgrades you can get with it. So the trainer, the basic the basic AH that just has those non-guided weapons. There's the guided rockets. And then the Block 2, which would have the full Hellfire, all singing and dancing. No, we've already integrated guided rockets. We're integrating the Dillon minigun as well as the HMP, the FN Herstall 50 caliber pod. We have fired the APKWS, that's qualified on the aircraft, and people have fired Hellfires from the aircraft, but it's not been qualified in on this integrated system. So, and then we're working with Dillon. They're having upgrades to their weapon systems as well to get those integrated on the aircraft. A lot.
Well, we're seeing cost increases across the entire supply chain. Like I mentioned to you, lead times increasing is requiring us also to expedite material to meet our demand. But percentage-wise, we're seeing anywhere from 25% to 60% or more.
Or 300.
Yeah.
There's one particular part that, they tripled prices to us, our costs. So it's challenging, and again, we're trying not to just pass all that along to the customer, you know, some give and take here and there, go find some other sources for that stuff. We do have a price increase about to come out for 2024, and we're going to keep it relatively modest. It's going to be right around 8% of those 700 part numbers. Roughly 620 of them will be held flat, no price increase, because we're going to have to add, you know, some price to the other ones. Well, on average, it's 8%. Now, that's going to be a different number to everybody depending on which of those widgets you buy, but we're trying to keep it reasonable and not go nuts and have 20 and 30% increases in a year.
But unfortunately, we have to pass most of that stuff on to our customers as well. It was kind of crazy year. All my years in this business, I've never seen prices kind of go up from the supply chain that much in that short a period of time.
So the E to F kit installed by the service centers is currently available. If you have one and you're interested, you can go see any of those 4 service centers to get a quote.
And if I could, we did that. There's a technical bulletin out on that's approved by the FAA, so anybody tomorrow could essentially turn their E into an F.
For 4 of the remaining 6, the Super D20B, the Super D20R, the 530N, and the Super E with the glass cockpit, our goal is to have all of those certified and tech bulletins released by the end of Q3 of this year. So kits will start flowing out in Q4. And the fast follower projects, the Super E with an analog cockpit, which most of the aircraft out there, that's how they're configured, and the Super D30, which is the D model with the C30 engine and all the other treatments, we aspire to have those certified by the end of the year because it's just a few extra types of test flights and certifications on top of the other ones, and those kits will hopefully be flowing in Q1 of next year. So all 7 of those fielded fleet upgrades ideally will be available through our network starting in Q1 of next year, or some of them a little bit earlier. Our biggest challenge, I think, is going to be, if there is the kind of demand that we're expecting, is going to be how do we make and buy enough parts to get the kits available to go out. But that's a good problem to have.
And I think the other one is what we don't control is the FAA, as you know. You know, how long is it going to take them to review, approve all our documentation?
Yeah, one of them, the 530N, and we announced this around this time last year, we've teamed up with Columbia to put together an STC for that product. But the rest of them right now, we plan to do ourselves, or maybe with a little bit of help from some local companies.
Yeah, well, we go outside for some DERs. So Chuck, how's the Blade program going?
Good.
We look forward to it.
So as soon as that's ready to provide more performance, then we throw some more performance on top of all these other upgrades. So it's, you know, it's like opening up your Summit or your JEGS, you know, hot rod catalog. You don't have to do it all at one time. You can do your drivetrain first and then your suspension and everything else. So it's kind of that type of a concept. If any of you guys are car guys and hot rod guys.
Yeah, I would, you know, again, keeping up with the supply chain. I think we can get to 30-some aircraft a year with you know, the combination of military and commercial. That would be an ambitious goal, but I think it also is something we can get to in the next couple of years. Let's answer the second question. So there's a video that we play downstairs that 30 seconds. It's a E to Super E conversion. So, you know, probably a couple minutes to, it's in fast forward. That's a fairly, the Super E, Super D are fairly easy upgrades.
Yeah, not bad. Maybe give or take 350 man hours. So likely a good shop would be able to flip an aircraft like that, even with you know, a new paint job in perhaps less than a month, definitely less than 2. E to F is a little more involved, some sheet metal work going on there. Those will probably take, depending on what's happening and over and aboves that come up, anywhere from 3 to 4 months. It's, you know, a couple thousand man hours to do that surgery. Brad, can you answer the question about installation in other regions?
If you got an E to a Super E, you know, that, you know, you could even do that in a couple of days with tracking and balancing.
Yeah,
you know,
you literally could.
But The other, I apologize, Transport Canada, New Zealand, not my area of expertise, so I can't, Harvey, make.
I'm not sure about New Zealand, but with Canada, there's a bilateral agreement, so they should be able to get that certification fairly easy, although it might require additional testing, flight testing.
And our approach on most of these will be to write a technical bulletin as opposed to make them a full STC, which is kind of, our privilege as the OEM. That makes it go a lot faster. Yeah, for the NOTAR, we're going after the 500 series first. We've been literally a week away from getting the first article tail boom certified over the past couple of months. Just running into some minor detail snags along the way. That thing is expected to be certified in March, and then we will begin full rate production. The next one that comes off the line will take about 4 weeks, and the goal is by the middle of the summer to have that supplier turning out about 2 per month. And so our game plan, given the volume things we've talked about earlier, and there are about 85 of the 520Ns out there flying around, is we'll probably have them do what we call a lifetime build over the next 2 years. So we'll look at, over the next 20, 30 years, which is maybe all the longer that model will fly, give or take, how many tail booms is the fleet expected to consume? And so we're probably going to do a run of about 30 tail booms and cones to make sure that the fleet is taken care of for the rest of its life. You may know that recently we finished recertifying with a new supplier the fan blades, and so we got that one out of the way. So we're whittling away at it, got a few other things to do. But yeah, that's one, because there's so much commonality with that in the 500 series, which we're working to maintain. We're going to take care of that one first, and then the next step would be do some of those same things on the 600. Yeah, we get asked, I get calls from all over, including New Zealand, like every month. When are you going to have those tail booms ready to go again?
We took the tail boom off our trainer aircraft and gave it to Louisville PD just because they needed it, and they needed it worse than we did. So. And thank you very much for supporting our company and our product line. Appreciate it. Well, again, thanks. I'll be hanging out around the booth, walking around the floor, so stop me if you got, or any of these guys or Jason, any questions. And thanks again. Appreciate your support, and it's great seeing you all again, and look forward to a great year. Thanks.
Thank you.